We have made a lot of videos already covering the possibilities of who cursed Eda. Was it her sister Lilith? Was it their mysterious parent? Did King do it by accident? Was it the Emperor? Did Eda somehow curse herself? But perhaps the weirdest theory out there is that somehow Hooty is the one responsible for her curse. And what's weirdest about this theory is that at the moment, it actually makes the most sense to me. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. Now, a lot of this theory is going to build off of evidence presented in previous videos about how Lilith may have cursed Eda using the Owl House, or how Eda may have accidentally cursed herself. But there is one element in particular that takes that evidence and points it at Hooty all the way back in episode 4, The Intruder, where we first learned about the curse. At the end of the episode, Eda has a dream about the person who cursed her, a vague silhouette standing in a doorway, but there is something about the actual physical design of this person that is rather strange. It's not a humanoid shape, but even if you account for the purposeful blurring, it looks more like a tube with the face that is coiled around in a way to give us the vague impression that it is humanoid, like Hooty himself. And the fact that this figure is standing in the doorway is also kind of telling, because that is where Hooty is, that is where he exists. Being a part of the door somewhat defines him as a character. Now, a lot of you are probably saying that this is the stupidest theory you've ever heard. Why would Hooty do this? How could he even do it? Isn't he just some enchanted door thingy? Well, my theory here is that Hooty isn't even aware that he cursed Eda, and that's why Eda doesn't remember who cursed her either, because the whole thing is a bit of a tragic accident. You see, Hooty is a bit more than just a door. In the episode Hooty's Moving Hassle, the kids perform a special little ceremony that should let them possess items like toys and make them move according to their will. Instead, the three end up accidentally possessing the entire house. Now, some viewers may think that it was their spell that gave the Owl House its legs, but considering how they've possessed Hooty himself in doing so, it would indicate that the legs were there all along and that Hooty simply does not use them unless he is told to. Eda is of course a wanted criminal, with great rewards offered for her capture, and the Boiling Isles is a relatively small place. All it would take is one person being suspicious of her at the market, trying to follow her back to her hiding place, and the Emperor could send all of his guards after her. She's the only person we've seen that exists away from civilization as a whole in the Isles, and if the house and its location was something that belonged to her family, then Lilith would have been able to track her down sooner to convince her to join the Emperor's coven, or even outright arrest her and force her to, such as in Once Upon a Swap. Instead, I think that the house probably resided somewhere in Bonesboro, but Eda enchanted it to become alive, creating Hooty and having him live in the house so she could pick it up and move it anytime that she was worried that her location might be compromised. Eda seemed to have an interest in the owl theme before she was cursed, after all. While we don't know exactly what happened, we know that the staff that she likely got as a young girl was made by her, and she embraced the title of Eda the Owl Lady, something she probably wouldn't want to do if she was cursed to be an owl-like demon first. If she was cursed before creating Hooty or Owlbert, or taking the name of the Owl Lady, she likely would think of owls as something traumatic and not want to be associated with them. Instead, she probably views the curse as a sort of ironic twist on something she loves, taking her fascination for owls and using them in a sort of punishment against her. Inside of the Owl House, we see that there is a crazy awesome glyph that looks sort of like an owl demon, and I think that this glyph was either used to enchant the house or appeared when she cast the spell with a circle. Like with Luce's glyphs, this strange marking likely is inherently magical, and if touched wrong or activated by accident, could take a spell that was meant to imbue the spirit of an owl demon into the house, and instead put it inside of Eda. Above all else, I think the biggest hint that supports this whack theory is the name of the show itself. They could have called the show The Boiling Isles, or Adventures in Demonic Fantasyland, or Magical Girl Luce, or any number of other things, but despite the actual Owl House seeming to be of very little significance to the story so far, they decided to title it just that, The Owl House. Why is the name of this house, this tiny little home, so important that it became the title of the entire show? It's almost as if it's the one thing that's going to tie everything together, because the Owl House, in many ways, is how Eda got cursed herself, but who's to say? Despite how strong I think this theory is, and regardless of how wacky it sounds, there are a few issues with it. The key one seems to be just how much detail went into the door that Eda is opening in her dream. While it looks like Hooty's on the other side with his dead, soulless eyes, the door itself doesn't resemble Hooty's door at all. I tried to keep an eye out for various doors in the Owl House or anywhere else that this might be, but none of them matched up. In a last-ditch effort, I thought the door might be the magic door that Eda uses to enter various dimensions. We've only seen it connect to the human world, but based on how Eda uses it to escape hearing about the magical adventures of Azura, I thought it might be possible that it opens a portal to many different dimensions, one of which may contain the being who cursed her, but once again, the doors are no match. Now, it's possible that this door isn't meant to be a real door, that it's just symbolic for a part of the mind that Eda likes to keep closed off, but the design is so intricate that I can't help but think that it will factor in and perhaps completely change my thoughts on this theory. But what do you guys think? Is this theory just so freaking silly because Hooty is, well, Hooty? Or does the logic itself make sense despite how funny the twist may seem because of Hooty's characterization? Let me know what you guys think in a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.